Thank you for staying for the news. Now, in our first story, President Akakpo is asking for an aggressive and workable solution to address the activities of pirates operating in the Gulf of Guinea. The seizure of ships, kidnapping and murder has become dominant features on the Gulf by miscreants parading as pirates. Now, over the last 15 years, container ships, fishing vessels and oil tankers in the region have been the targets. Now, addressing a conference of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, President Akakpo said the affected countries, including Ghana, had to work together to reverse the trend.
Excellencies, I've taken advantage of this extraordinary meeting to bring up for discussion two issues that are of great importance to our region. Firstly, the issue of finding means of making our region a safe, secure, and prosperous one. And secondly, the deliberation on whether it is in our collective interest to enlarge the Gulf of Guinea Commission so that we will have as member states all the coastal states of West and Central Africa, from Cape Verde to Angola, instead of only the coastal states of the geographical Gulf of Guinea region, from Cote d'Ivoire to Angola, as is currently set out in the 2001 treaty establishing the Gulf of Guinea Commission. There will then be the need to amend this treaty to reflect this new development if it is so accepted. These are the items for our agenda for the closed-door session. It is important that we have some serious discussion on these items in order to come up with strategies geared towards strengthening peace and security and winning the fight against maritime-related crimes in the region, such as piracy, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, arms trafficking, pollution of the environment, smuggling, fuel and crude oil theft. We shall continue to work to address these maritime security issues to help contain and eradicate the menace caused by these acts of criminality in the region, so as to build a safe, secure, and prosperous Gulf of Guinea region for sustainable development for
Well, let's talk a bit of health now. And the Anopheles stephensi mosquito has been known to resist many insecticides, making it difficult to fight it. So we ask, how does the mosquito do this? In the third of our series on Anopheles stephensi, Joy News' medical correspondent, Dr. Netta Pasram, takes a look at how the insect has been able to achieve this level of resistance.
We know that the Anopheles stephensi's peak biting times is between
6 to 9 before you go to sleep.
We also learned that it's able to withstand temperatures
about 3.4 degrees Celsius lower and higher than that of the Anopheles can be.
Here is something else to know about the Anopheles stephensi. Research has found that it is resistant against insecticides.
A class of insecticides known as pyrethroids has been recommended for the control of mosquitoes in many parts of Africa. However, this heavy reliance has caused many of these mosquitoes to develop resistance. A study carried out in 2020 on insecticide resistance in Anopheles stephensi in Somali region found that the mosquito was resistant to several classes of insecticides, including pyrethroids and even DDT.
Yes, insecticides are supposed to be our defense. How does it do this?
So it has 29 insecticide resistant genes being reported in it, which has previously not been covered. This covers genetic mutations, it covers metabolic enzymes that are capable of degrading. In fact, the whole spectrum of insecticide resistance that we know, it has the genes that are responsible for them have also been identified. I mean, specific genes that are very susceptible to changes. All right. In fact, people even described it in such a way that they are point where gene drive could be explored, because there are certain portions of the genes that are changeable.
Regardless,
Remember to sleep under insecticide-treated mosquito nets. Wear long clothing. Make use of indoor residual spraying. And don't forget that you can use insect repellents. For Joy News, Dr. Netta Pasram.
Well, back in the studio, caterers under the school feeding program say they will not yield to intimidation to resume work. For about 3 weeks, the caterers have withdrawn their services to demand the payment of arrears and an increase of the cooking grant per child from 97 pesos to 3 cedis. They want leadership of the program to desist from issuing threats in addressing their challenges. Nanaya Ojima has more in this report.
Representatives of caterers from other regions joined those in Ashanti for the press conference. About a week before the group withdrew their services, they received the first term payment of the same year, an amount they say does not cover the full term. Most caterers say they are being chased by the suppliers and banks where they secured loans for the contract. They are unwilling to return to cooking for the pupils.
Mrs. Kwashiga is provoking us that this kind of job is a sacrificial job and is the work of God. And we want to tell her that God hasn't called us to come and preach to the children. And we cannot go and borrow to come and cook for the children for free. We are fed up. We want our money and we want an increment. And they should also stop telling the caterers that we don't have any right to talk. We want to tell her that we have every right because we all work for the government to come to power. And so we need our money. We need it. Without the money, we are not going back to cook.
Many of the caterers were contracted to serve hot meals in schools in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Some of the caterers are still owed by the government. She says, we were contracted to cook for the pupils in junior high school within the COVID-19 era. We did the work satisfactorily. We were made to add an egg to every meal. To date, some of us haven't been paid. Meanwhile, the caterers are pointing to some anomalies in the school feeding program and have called for an audit.
There are a lot of ghost names, ghost schools. That ghost schools, we want you to go deeper into it and bring that evidence out because there are kululu over there, ghost names, thousands of ghost names. They should stop doing that. They are causing financial loss to the state. We are telling them.
Deductions, the illegal deduction by the secretariat. Madam is my head of school. She monitors me what I do every day. And she forwarded the information to Accra. Now Accra says that I did not cook. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Our caterers are suffering, and it has a very serious political consequences for the government if they will not clean up the secretariat. Over 11,000 caterers are suffering, and the government says because of one person or two people at the secretariat, they don't care. Government will live to regret if they don't address this issue urgently.
For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
Now, the opposition National Democratic Congress has called on the special prosecutor to launch full-scale investigations into allegations of money laundering and illicit gold trade by elements in the Akufo-Addo government contained in a recent Al Jazeera documentary. The party has also demanded similar investigations into a leaked cabinet report by erstwhile Environment Minister and Chairman of the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng. National Communications Officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, addressed a news conference at the party's headquarters yesterday.
As we in the NDC have always maintained, President Akufo-Addo's proclaimed fight against Galamsey was the biggest scam ever to be perpetrated on Ghanaians. Today, the NDC stands vindicated as a report authored by the German-trained cardiothoracic surgeon and former Minister of Environment and Science, Professor Frimpong-Boateng, has all but confirmed our long-held opinion that there has never been any genuine commitment or any attempts to fight Galamsey by the Akufo-Addo MPP government. The said report by the German-trained cardiothoracic surgeon shows clearly that the so-called fight against Galamsey was a charade calculated to enable top government and MPP functionaries to appropriate and take over the illicit Galamsey trade. We are of the view that the only way to establish the truth and get to the bottom of the issues contained in the Professor Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report is for Parliament to institute a publicly televised and bipartisan inquiry into this report, which essentially is an obituary of President Akufo-Addo's monumentally failed fight against illegal mining.
In our next story, the North Dai district in the Volta region is poised to enhance the livelihoods of persons with disabilities in its jurisdiction. The Assembly is distributing startup kits to beneficiaries to enable them engage in economic activities. The district chief executive, Kujo Atta, believes this would also propel the growth of the local economy.
North Dine District has over 600 persons with disability. The majority of them depend on relatives. In a bid to change this narrative, the District Assembly decided to use the PWD's allocation of the Common Fund to procure startup kits for beneficiaries. This was to enable them to engage in trading activities to earn a living. 40 persons with disabilities benefited from the recent distribution. Kujo Atta is the North Dine District Chief Executive.
You underscore the fact that over the years, since 2017, we have changed this format of gifting freebies, money to people with disability, to items, so that the expectation is that it will affect their local economy. We seek to transform their lives. We seek to change their psyche so that they will have different perspective about life. And that's what exactly we are doing. And we expect that these items that we are giving them would make sure we go a long way to help them in their domestic affairs. There are very little, very young ones amongst us who will not be able to do anything as a result of their condition. These things are given to their parents in their stead. So the parents will use same to take care of them.
He explained the Assembly would continue to build the capacity of the beneficiaries to enable them to effectively manage their businesses.
We do skills training for even people with disability. And apart from that, we are doing monitoring of their activities. Because if they're not able to manage this, it's called the essence of it all. And so that's how come that I emphasize the point on monitoring and asking that we'll come over. So we will do this and then we'll do it through the outreach of social welfare to make sure that there is sustainability of what they have to do. And apart from that, once in a while, we invite people to come and talk to them and motivate them.
The beneficiaries lauded the Assembly on the distribution, hoping it would contribute to improve their livelihoods. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Amfuega.
Well, that's how we cap off the news. Do stay with us, though, because we're joined by Dr. Kwame Asasante shortly for the news review.